The Northern Chinese Famine of 1876–79 occurred in the late Qing dynasty in China. It is usually referred to as Dīngwù Qíhuāng in China. A drought began in northern China in 1875, leading to crop failures the following years. The provinces of Shaanxi, Hebei, Henan, Shandong and the northern parts of Jiangsu were affected. 9 to 13 million people are estimated to have died in the famine out of a total population of the 5 provinces of 108 million. The drought was influenced by the El Niño Southern Oscillation. Relief efforts. British missionary Timothy Richard first called international attention to a drought-caused famine in Shandong in summer 1876. He appealed to the foreign community in Shanghai for money to help the victims. In March 1877, the Shandong Famine Relief Committee was established with the participation of diplomats, businessmen, and Protestant and Roman Catholic missionaries. Richard became aware that drought conditions were even worse in neighboring Shaanxi province, which at the time was virtually unknown to foreigners. In early 1878, Richard journeyed to Shaanxi. His famine diary described conditions that people pull down the houses, sell the wives and daughters, eat roots and carrion, clay and leaves as news which nobody wonders at. The sight of men and women lying helpless on the roadside, or if dead, torn by hungry dogs and magpies, of children being boiled and eaten up, is so fearful as to make one shudder. Shaanxi was the most seriously impacted province in the famine, with an estimated 5.5 million dead out of a total population of 15 million people. Remote and inaccessible rural districts suffered most. To combat the famine, an international network was set up to solicit donations, most of which came from England and foreign businesses in China. These efforts brought in 204,000 silver taels, the equivalent of $7 minus 10 million in 2012 silver prices. The Roman Catholics raised at least 125,000 taels, and the greater physical presence in the famine area permitted them to work effectively at the local level. More than 40 Roman Catholic and 31 Protestant missionaries administered the relief efforts in the field, which helped about 3.4 million people in Shaanxi alone. The Protestants included Arthur Henderson Smith and William Scott Amond, who would later achieve prominence. 3 Protestant missionaries died of disease, probably typhus, which was rampant in the famine area. The Qing government, Chinese philanthropists and businessmen also responded to the famine, raising funds with an illustrated pamphlet titled "Pictures to Draw Tears from Iron." There was rivalry between the foreign and Chinese relief efforts. The Chinese feared the missionaries would use the famined work to spread Christianity and to adopt and Christianize orphan children. They raised large sums of money to establish orphanages and to redeem women and children who had been sold into slavery. While most foreign relief focused on Shaanxi, the private Chinese effort was mostly in Henan, whose people they believed to be fiercely anti-foreign, and Shandong. The rains returned. In June 1879, heavy rains began to fall in much of the famine area, and with the harvest that fall, the worst of the famine was over. However, many rural areas had been depopulated by starvation, disease, and the migration of destitute people to urban areas. To the foreigners, the huge loss of life during the famine was due to the backwardness of China and the inefficiency and corruption of the Qing government. The famine made Chinese, in the words of one scholar, increasingly aware of their material inferiority and insulted cultural pride, increasing the dissatisfaction with the Qing. The Protestant missionaries believed their work during the famine would establish goodwill among the Chinese for foreigners and open up opportunities for missionary work. Missionaries, including the Oberlin Band, began to work in sizable numbers in Shaanxi province after the famine.